What's up guys, Brad back on the channel, a brand new video. Today I'm going to be ranking every derby in the UK that's classed as like an actual derby, main club rivals really. So I'm going to rank them from hatred to irrelevant. Sections are of course hatred, good, average, quiet and irrelevant. So I'm going to rank them based on what I think they are. Just a quick reminder, this is my opinion, this is nothing official. So if your derby is rated irrelevant or not what you want it, please don't cry in the comment section. But yeah, let's get into it. Anyway guys, let's kick things straight away off with Chelsea Fulham. There's not really a massive hatred there. They hardly ever play each other. The atmosphere is not really great from either team anyways, not at home especially, so it's not a relevant derby realistically, is it? Manchester United Leeds, the only team that I'll probably have a little bias against. Well, I won't, because I'd say this is a fair analysis of it, but people will think I'll have a bit of I'll be biased against Leeds, but I don't think it's a derby. It's just not a derby anymore. Like, Leeds just seem to force it so much. It's like it's just like Leeds, they just forced the rivalry with Man United just to make it look like it's still a massive rivalry. Man United don't care about Leeds anymore. They care about City, they care about Liverpool. You know, they're their sort of rivals because one's in their city and then Liverpool's the next sort of big club near them. So that's why they class City and Liverpool as rivals. But Man United, Leeds United, it's not a rivalry anymore. Leeds just force it so much. Next up we got the Battle of Wales really, because they're only the two sort of well-known teams in Wales. The hatred is there. I don't know the atmosphere if it's that good, but I do know that the hatred's there. I've seen clips of course, and I watched the Swansea at home against Cardiff on TV. It was okay. It's average. It was okay. Like I say, it's not special, but it's okay as derby goes, as derbies go. Spurs, Chelsea. I think this is a pretty good one. I think it's an underrated derby as well. There's always quite a lot of scenes, especially since Chelsea won the last one. I think it was where Willian scored. I think it was absolute scenes in the Chelsea end. I know that much, anyways. But yeah, it's an underrated derby, and I think it goes in average. To be fair. Next up, we've got Rangers Celtic. Oh God, where do you start with Rangers Celtic? It is a bit of a different derby because both sets of fans are made up by more like so. Celtic is made up by Scottish and Irish fans, with that being sort of the Catholic team, and Rangers being more like of a Protestant-based team. They're both in Glasgow. It's a Glasgow derby, of course, but yeah, that's sort of like the history behind it. But yeah, it's a brilliant derby. Both teams provide amazing atmosphere, and the hatred is, well, like no other in Scotland anyway. It's top of the list, hatred. Next up we've got another Scotland derby, Hearts versus Hibs. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the Edinburgh derby, and as far as derbies go in Scotland, they are pretty good, so I don't see any reason why this one wouldn't be. I've seen clips from of Hearts fans and they're pretty good, so we're going to put them in good. Next up we got Bristol City and Bristol Rovers. Battle of Bristol, of course. It's a bit of a quiet one, this. It's not talked about a lot because they haven't played each other in a while, but I can imagine two clubs in one city, it would be a pretty fierce rivalry. I actually spoke to a Bristol Rovers fan on an away day, and he was doing like a ground like review, and he was telling me how like the hatred is properly there. And you know what? I think it's there. I'd say it's an average derby. To be fair, the hatred's going to be there in the city, and you know, League One side, Championship side, there'll be pretty good atmosphere there, no doubt. So West Brom Wolves. Now, I'm a bit puzzled with this one, more so than the Fulham Chelsea, because I don't even think these two are rivals, are they? Because Wolves always associate themselves hating Villa more, and West Brom also associate themselves with hating Birmingham and Villa more. So it's not. I don't see it as really a derby. I can't remember the last time these two played and all was spoke about it. So I just have to put it in irrelevant, really. Norwich, Ipswich. I suppose it's it's one of those where they're quite far away, but they are still classed as rivals. But I saw a photo about a year ago. It was when these two last played in the Championship, and the fans were sat in the sort of like the same standing. There weren't many stewards separating them, if it makes sense. So if an Ipswich fan wanted to jump over the barrier and start fighting the Norwich fans, he could have done, and not really anyone would have been able to stop him. So that tells you that there's not much hatred there, and that it's just a really poor derby, and it's irrelevant pretty much. I'm not saying that you have to fight to have a good atmosphere, but there's no hatred for someone who supports a set of fans that support your rival team, then that's a bit wrong, to be fair. The North London derby. Now this is probably the best derby in the Premier League, if I'm being honest, because you've got Tottenham and Arsenal, two similar sort of ability teams, very balanced, very close together as well. And there's quite a bit of history between the two clubs. And what I find good about the North London derby is it's always a banging game. It's very rarely like a 0-0. It's always like a 4-2 or 4-3 or 3-3. There's always drama. It all kicks off in North London. It's a brilliant derby, and yeah, for me, it's got to go in hatred just because of the reason of how good the games are. Like the rivalry itself, yeah, they hate each other. But if it weren't for the good games, then it'd just been good. But the games just make it 10 times better, because the games are always action-packed and brilliant. So yeah, it's got to go in hatred for me. Derby Forest. This is a bit of a cringy one, I'm not going to lie. I mean, they play for a cup. Whoever wins out of the two teams, they get a cup. Like, it's just cringy and it's just sad. It's like, no, you take that away, because I'm going to dock them down for that, because it's extremely cringy. You take that away, you've got two sides with pretty good fans in decent games. It hasn't been the best, but they've been decent games, so I'm going to go down the middle and put them in average. Next up, we've got the North East derby. The Toon versus the Black Cats, Newcastle and Sunderland. I think it's fair to say that these two hate each other with a passion, and it's up there in hatred, no doubt. Just the hatred itself just does enough for that derby. And funnily enough, we move on to the next one, which is practically similar. West Ham Millwall. It's hatred. That's probably the most dangerous derby in the whole of the UK. Comment down below if you agree, but the amount it's Millwall it's Millwall and it's West Ham, both sets of fans in that game, absolutely bonkers, like proper like hooligans and all that sort of stuff. It's like it'd be proper dangerous going to one of them. Like, I'd be worried I'd be getting hurt if I went to that game. So yeah. Next up, we've got the Merseyside derby. I think this has gone down a bit in years because of how to explain it, how many levels Liverpool have got better than Everton. I think that makes it like so that it's less of a good derby, because they're in the same league, but it's almost like Liverpool are in a league of their own and Everton just can't compete with them. And when they do compete with them, it's only like a poor 0-0 draw, so it's not really like special, to be fair. It's average as derbies go. Pompey versus Southampton. Now, back in the day when these two were similar ability, this was an absolute brilliant game. Hatred is clearly there between the two. They sing about each other in the chants. Now, people would say that's obsession, but it's just hatred, really. They can't stand each other. There were even some Pompey fans in the town end when we played Southampton away in the cup, so that shows how much they hate their rivals, that they go to a team that they don't even support just to hate on their rivals. So yeah, Pompey, Saints, it's a good derby. Next up, we've got a bit of a weird one here, Palace Brighton. Now, I'm pretty sure Palace are South London and Brighton are just Brighton. I don't know, I think it's Brighton are in Sussex. I don't know what the counties are all like down there, because I've never really been to I've not been to Palace. I've been to Brighton, but I don't know where Palace is classed. I think it's just classed as South London. I don't know what goes on like that, but they're quite far away from each other, which doesn't really make the most sense in terms of a rivalry. And it's a bit of an underrated one, don't get me wrong, because it's sort of become more and more noticed now. but it's still not up there with the rest of them, and it's still not as good. So the hatred is there, but the reasoning behind the derby and the games itself aren't always the best. So I'm going to go down the middle here and play it safe. Now, Manchester derby. Now, you could argue, aside for both here, you could argue that it's got better because City have injected loads of money into the club and now it's a level playing field. Or you could in fact say that it's got worse because it's more of a tourist game now. Like, just people who have just who don't even who aren't diehard fans. Like, no disrespect. Come on, Brad, we'll get with it. But they're just like, they're not diehard fans and they just go for like the one game just for the derby, and it sort of made it worse really. So I think it's a good derby, but the fans and like the atmosphere, I'm pretty sure Manchester United didn't sell out at Old Trafford for this game as well, I heard somewhere. So that for me means it's just not up there with the rest of them and it's just an average derby. Next up, we've got the Steel City derby, Sheffield United versus Sheffield Wednesday. No doubt about this. This is up there in hatred. I've spoke to both Wednesday and United fans, and they can't stand the thought of each other. But the best game in recent history, especially what sort of cements it in the hatred section, is the game at Hillsborough when Sheffield United went 2-0 up through goals from Fleck and Leon Clark, and then Wednesday equalised through Hooper and Lucas Jow, and then seconds after, if you don't bounce, you're a blade. That was it, ringing round Hillsborough, and then a minute later, Duffy went in behind, fake shot, scoop with his left, hit it with his right, into the far corner, side netting, absolute limbs in the United away end, and that's just what derbies are made of, really. It was brilliant to watch on telly, quite comical as well, really, but yeah, brilliant derby. It's definitely up there with the best in the country. Next up, we've got Villa Birmingham, similar. They're both a bit more, I'd say Birmingham fans are quite aggressive, to be fair. But it's a brilliant derby, really, and the hatred is clearly there after Jack Grealish got hit by that Birmingham fan. So yeah, it's a brilliant derby. It's definitely a hatred derby. It qualifies in that section, and what sort of jumps out at me most in terms of memories was the Alan Hutton goal against Birmingham at Villa Park, when he ran from right back and then went and finessed it with his left foot all the way. It was ridiculous goal, ridiculous technique, and it's just brilliant, really. Now again, another sort of derby that you'd argue was better back in the day because the teams were level, but now it's got a bit worse because it's more tourist based. And that's Manchester United Liverpool. It's just so tourist based, and the atmosphere is there, but it's just it's just not what it was. And again, I doubt that either teams, Liverpool will sell out, but I doubt that Man United are selling out for this. So it's a good derby, don't get me wrong, but again, it's not what it once was. So I'm not going to put it in good, I'm going to put it in average. Next up, we've got Burnley Blackburn. Now, I can definitely sort of say that the hatred is there, but what you've got to take into consideration as well is that Blackburn fans away from home are pretty good, and Burnley fans home and away are pretty good as it goes. So you can only imagine that the atmosphere will be brilliant, especially with Blackburn being a Championship club and Burnley being sort of a mid-table Prem club. Those are the sort of clubs that have the best atmosphere. So based on that, and based on the fact that if they played each other nowadays, it'd be a cracking game. Burnley would probably wipe them off floor, but I reckon a couple of years ago these were the games that were brilliant. So for that reason, I have to put it in good, because the atmosphere would be brilliant at a game like this, and the games would also be quite good. So yeah, that's every derby that's classed as a derby, even though the bottom four shouldn't really be classed as derbies. But yeah, that's the best derbies in the UK, ranked from best to worst. Anyway guys, thanks for all the recent support. I know content's been a bit limited recently, but I'm doing what I can do anyway. Hope you're all safe, hope you're all staying safe, follow the government guidelines. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.